What is up, guys? Heath with Lake Champlain Sanitation here, and today on this Trash Talk episode, I have Roberto from Northern Virginia of MBR Disposal Services. We started out our relationship, I don't know, man, probably a year ago. I think we did like a discovery call thing. We've shot a few messages back and forth since then, and Roberto reached out to me. I think he's a perfect candidate for this Trash Talk series, guys. He's got an awesome story. Started with, nothing like a lot of us do, and he's becoming successful in the waste hauling industry. So I'm going to let you do a little introduction of your own, Roberto. What's up? What's going on down in Virginia today?
Hey man, hope everything's okay with you. Yeah, but my name is Roberto, owner operator of MBR Disposal Services. I'm 31 years old. Just like he said, I started off, already had an F-250. I went out and purchased a Max D setup. And then even just to take it one step back, I actually found Heath's channel and I started watching that. And I did research for about a year. And his channel really just kind of groomed me and kind of showed me like the real aspect of the business. And, from there, like I said, grabbed that Max D setup, was super successful with that, continue to build on. Now I have a Chevy 5500 hook lift. And yeah, we're just looking to, continue to be, successful, and whatever's next for us is, we're going to kill it.
Awesome. And we'll take it back to the beginning as we start the story here, guys. Roberto, how did you, or when did you decide to pick the part of the industry that you wanted to start in right from day one? Because as you know, there's many different things you can do. And, what made you go one way over the other? And was it like, were you bouncing the different parts of the industry back and forth? Or did you just watch, like you said, some content, you thought it was a good model for you and you went with it?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. YouTube University is, I probably have a master's in YouTube University. Because one thing is, before I actually got into this industry, what I was thinking of starting a business was I've always had an entrepreneur spirit since a young man. I used to wash cars, shovel snow, anything. I just always liked the hustle and make my own money. So the thing was, after watching YouTube, I was more interested in detailing. I love cleaning, my vehicles, at least taking hours on hours. But then I started to look and I'm like, hey man, when the wintertime comes, I'm not going to be able to make any money. This isn't going to be consistent. Or, hey, I'm taking 2 or 3 hours to clean my car or my wife's car. My wife timed me one time and was like, yeah, you're not going to this isn't for you. You're too into it. So then I went back to the drawing boards, YouTube University, like I said. And, I guess one day the algorithm must have just started showing junk removal guys. And, I watched one video, then the next video, then I came across Heath's channel. And the thing is that I got from Heath's channel is it's no BS. A lot of other guys out there, they're simply telling you, hey, make $50,000 in one day, doing junk removal. Come on, man, be serious. Yeah, I like I watch one video, everybody wants to make money, but then you start to really truly see someone that has really put in the time and the effort and actually grew their business the right way. And I studied his channel for a while. And like I said, I took about a year before I pulled the trigger because I did a lot of research. And then I, finally pulled the trigger, and we're here today. I'm talking to you. So
That's it, dude. I love it. And we're gonna put a picture of. Do you have a picture still of your old setup?
yeah, I got a picture of the old setup as well.
We're gonna throw a picture of the old setup. I think I remember you sent me pictures back in the day. I feel like you did, anyways. But you can resend those. We're gonna show you guys that here, and then we're also gonna show your current setup.
Yeah.
All right. So you get the Max D, you're in business now. What were the first few months like? What was the reality of the situation, I will say?
I would say it wasn't that bad. So the first 2 weeks in business, it was kind of like, man, I'm not getting any calls, what's going on? I started, just like anyone, doubt yourself a little bit, but, I had so many people that I felt, family members and things of that nature, they weren't really like against me, but they were just like, hey, you're taking a big shot at something that you don't know anything about. So, you kind of feel like those are my naysayers. So I felt like I had someone to prove wrong, especially my wife. My wife always supportive, but at the same time, she's not a risk taker at all. So it's always like she's on board once you prove her, or, prove to her like, hey, you can do this or something of that sort. So like I said, the first 2 weeks, no, nothing really, no action. I went out there, got on Facebook. I even, dabbled in Google ads at the time by myself. And man, that's a whole beast by itself. But then after the first 2 weeks, I started getting calls. And my thing is something that I truly invested in, and I would tell anyone else to get your vehicle wrapped. It doesn't have to be the craziest wrap. It doesn't have to be, something that you spend thousands of dollars on. But I'm just going to say this: do it right. Do it right the first time, and you won't have to worry about doing it, again. And I'll say this: I spent about $2,800 on my wrap. It was a partial wrap on my F-250, and I got so much business just off of that. That's how I initially got my first couple of customers. I had a customer right down the street. My first job was a $600 junk removal. So,
Yep. I was going to ask you how much the wrap was for your setup, because they're going to see it. And now, so you did that with the F-250. When you transitioned, we'll go from the F-250 with the Max D. How many dumpsters, before we transition into the hook lift, how many dumpsters did you get to before you thought, okay, maybe the hook lift is the way to go?
So I had 7 dumpsters. I had all 20 yards except for one. I had one 14-yard that I converted into a 20-yard. And the thing is, I just thought it would be more simple with the 20 yards because I could always rent them out as 15 yards. I'd have people call me and, hey, I need a 15-yard. I don't need a 20-yard. And then I would still show up with the 20-yard. I wouldn't tell them, hey, this is a 20-yard container. But, obviously, they're paying for what you put into the container. So I didn't feel it was any foul or anything of that nature. But at the same time, I just got over the point of I had one particular job. The customer called me on a Saturday, end of the day, and I've been super slammed all week. I have one 20-yard container left. So he's like, yeah, can you bring it to my house? We had a dumpster here already. It's filled up. They can't give me another one until Tuesday because it's a holiday on Monday. So I'm like, oh yeah, sure. This is perfect. I'm completely rented out for the week. I'm so excited again. And I'm like, yeah, just hustle and bustle. I love it. So I go to his house. His house is on a 90 grade incline going straight up. And I'm trying to back the trailer up into his driveway. And I am just struggling because it's mud on the side of the road. And obviously, a trailer doesn't go straight back. So, I'm kind of easing my way, going back and back and back. And it's just so steep that it's, the trailer's going each and every way. So I finally get up to the top. And he actually told me I actually pulled out and, pulled straight up. And I get to the top and, there's nowhere to even me to turn around because he's like, hey, you can turn around on the landing pad up top. So I'm like, okay, cool. Get up there, can't turn around. I'm like, he's like, yeah, let's just not do this. So ever since that day, I just always felt some type of way because he kept on saying, oh, yeah, this such and such company came here and they just backed straight up with their truck and dropped the dumpster.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, man, if I had a hook lift, this would never happen. It's just the embarrassment, not being able to, succeed and, locking a deal, even though it's just one customer out of hundreds, it still hurts.
Yep.
So, I just took that and then I kind of just went and looked at my financials and, I really see that I could afford the hook lift and I decided to make the change.
Awesome. So you get to 7. Do you still have the trailer? Or did you sell the trailer
No, I actually sold the trailer. I sold it to another guy.
And then you put the money
in contact.
That's right. That's how I did it. Take the equity out, put it into the next thing, kind of roll the money into the next thing. And
and
that's awesome.
I do want to state about the whole trailer setup because I'm on a Facebook page and a lot of people are always talking about, hey, I'm trying to get into business, trying to start the business up. Who does financials or, who goes ahead and is going to give me a loan or something like that. My story with my Max D was pretty much I had financing, but then the company told me I went to the actual Max D dealer and they're like, okay, cool. You have financing? I'm like, yeah. So probably from May all the way until June, I took delivery of my equipment. I'm thinking I'm good to go. I actually get to the dealer and they're like, hey, that company doesn't do for roll-offs, doesn't finance roll-offs. So I'm like, what are you talking about? They have dump trailers on their website when I applied for the loan and everything like that. And they're like, yeah, I don't know. Let me double check. So he calls them, I call them. They're like, yeah, we don't do that. It's a liability. So if you were to go negative on your loan, we can't repo the trailer if your dumpster's on it and we didn't pay for that dumpster. So I was just like, wow, I was just like, man. So I ended up having to
Wow.
come out of my pocket for all of my setup, at that time. And, $32,000 was a lot. Uh,
Wow. Yeah.
Thankfully, I do work a full-time job still. And,
Yep.
I had some money in the bank. I had to like scrimmage a little bit, on top, but at the same time, I was able to secure my stuff still.
Now let's talk about the full-time job. I'm glad you mentioned that because I don't want to breeze over that, guys. And that's one thing, like I was telling Roberto at the beginning of this, like as we come through these, we're going to have a better structure, hopefully, of how I ask the questions. And it's kind of just a freestyle on each person's individual story because they're all so different. But with the job, how like we're almost to the end of 2022. How many rentals are you able to do, like real talk? How many rentals can you do as an owner op with a job, like with a full-time job? I guess it depends on what your job hours are, but just for an example for the audience.
I could pretty much do so currently right now I have 9 dumpsters. So I could literally get them, I'm kind of like next day, same day service. The big thing with my job is, I work in the IT field and I'm a manager in the IT field. So my schedule is pretty flexible. And the thing is, I just recently took on, I'm a DoD contractor on top of that. So I took on a contract that is night shift so that I can run my business during the day. I could be open during core hours. I can receive phone calls, from 6 to 6. And then, I'm working later in the day at 8 o'clock. And, some days I only go in for a few hours, make sure my guys are good to go. And then, sometimes I don't even go on site. But that's just, flexibility. And I built myself up to that. It wasn't like, I just had that freedom before, I was still, I wasn't a manager at one point on a different contract, and I'm taking calls, sitting at my desk, typing on a computer, taking calls. And next, having to run out of work, 2 hours early to go get someone a dumpster. But it all played out, well, I was able to find that opportunity, and it has truly been a blessing. So, like you just said, I am able to pretty much, if someone was to call me right now, I could get that dumpster in a few hours.
That's awesome. So yeah. So one thing to take away from that whole story, guys, is like he said, he built up to the point where his job and his business at this point are both successful. It wasn't just like he went into the boss and was like, "Hey man, I'm gonna do dumpsters now. See you later."
Yeah,
And that's
I
where a lot
wish.
of jobs, like if you guys are working a job where your hours are 7 to 3 or 6 to 2, like it's going to be harder. So, Roberto's in a situation he put himself in by building out both sides of his life, basically to the point where he can be successful at two things at once. That's some hustle, man. I appreciate that. That's pretty awesome. So we talked about the trailer, man. Now let's talk about the hook lift because I get some slack sometimes. People are like, you don't need a hook lift to only have, 5, 10 dumpsters, but let's talk hook lift. Do you love it or is it not worth it to you?
I love it, man. Like I said, I have a couple other business friends that do this in this industry, and they're still using, trailers, PJs, Bisons, and Max D's, and I actually even had one of them come up here to Northern Virginia and do a job with me, a demolition job, and I let him drive the hook lift and test it out. He fell in love with it. He's been looking at hook lifts ever since. And just going to me personally, I love it. It's more convenient as a one-man show. It is so convenient to be able to just pick up a dumpster, put it on the truck, and go. It locks in itself. It does everything itself. And the thing is also, when I had the Max D, I was always scared a little bit because in this industry, you never know how heavy the dumpsters are going to be until you go and pick it up. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a million times when it's like, oh man, I didn't let my trailer charge last night. I think that was the biggest thing for me since I live within a subdivision with an HOA. Oh man, I used to get so many calls. I used to sit in my trailer outside of my house and let it charge overnight because I had a job or a couple of jobs the next day. I'm so glad I don't have to deal with that anymore. So yes, hook lift all the way. If you can afford it from the jump, get it.
Okay, awesome. I love it. Now let's talk because I was going to ask you about your yard situation as another little thing here. So you live in an HOA, you keep your trailer there, or you used to keep your trailer there if you had to charge it. But where are you keeping the dumpsters and or the truck currently?
So I actually pay for a lot. So it's pretty much it's a whole industrial park lot. So there's a whole bunch of semis and things of that nature there. I used to be parked at another business's lot, that was around my area. And pretty much, he actually became a super good friend to me. He's been super helpful and let my business grow. He actually does land clearing. So he had, big excavators, things of that nature. Because I actually never kept my trailer here. I only brought it home. Like I would go get it. I did residential trash on Mondays. And so I would go get it on Sunday night at like 9 o'clock so that none of the neighbors would see. And then, I'm gone by 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. I'm out doing the route. So, but yeah, I've always paid for a lot. I've always found somewhere to park my equipment. The only bad thing is like if you're trying to expand your business, that's when it starts becoming expensive, renting a lot. And then also sometimes the lot doesn't have the lot of space you need for all your equipment.
Yep. Now let's talk a little bit about the numbers of, do you think 2023, do you have a plan down the road to do this full time, or do you like the way it is with the great job you have? And it sounds like you're killing it on both ends. So is that kind of your plan for the foreseeable next year or so, or what's the future kind of hold?
Yeah, I thought, like I said again, going back to, watching your content, things of that nature. I know you said you did about 18 months before you actually pulled the trigger to leave your job. I thought I was on that, plan. But then, I took on a management role with my company. And, obviously I would like to continue on that path and, see where that takes me. But at the same time, I don't see myself leaving my job, at least for another year. The business is doing well, but the thing is, I've had a lot invested into the business. I feel like a lot of the money that I've made over the last year and a half, I've reinvested into the business. So, in another year or so, I'll really be seeing profits and a lot of gains. So maybe that will get me to actually step away and, just build on. But at this point in time, I don't see myself leaving my full-time job, probably within the next year to year and a half.
Now you mentioned residential trash. Are you doing that with the hook lift at all, or?
So the thing is, I do not do residential trash anymore. I actually got out of it October 1st. Again, I'm gonna keep on saying this. It might sound good. I'm beating a dead horse, but I try to follow your motto. I started off just doing, junk removals and dumpster rentals, and then I was like, okay, cool. How can I be, sustainable throughout the winter? How can I, just have some back end money that's always, reoccurring? And I was like, bingo, residential trash. But I liked residential trash. I had no complaints. I had a route of about 70 customers, like 72 customers. It was great. But the thing is, being a one man show, it does get tiring. And I was at the point where I was like, should I pull the trigger and try to get a compactor, like a compact truck, the same like you have the Dodge, or try to hire someone, or it was just I was at a crossroad, or and pretty much, or either stop, because if
Yep.
I can't do something 150%, all the way, I don't want to do it at all. And my customers definitely were behind me with that. I reached out to every single one of my customers and let them know, hey, I'm going to be moving on from residential trash. I already set up with another local company here in my area that only does residential trash. They came and bought all my equipment, and then I gave them the customers as an incentive. The unfortunate thing is, I do still get a lot of calls for residential trash, and lately it's been HOAs. So I'm like, man, maybe I should have stuck around for a little bit.
It's tough, man. I mean, the hardest part about the residential trash, and I've said this in my videos, is like I grew that before I even knew what a dumpster rental was.
Yeah,
I didn't even think about junk removal at the time. I mean, those two services just got added. I mean, I've been in business 4 years, but those two businesses or business things I've been doing for like 2 years. So the first like year and a half, almost 2 years, all I knew was drive around with a dump trailer or a dump truck and pick up garbage. So it's like, I feel like it's easier to start that way, not knowing the other stuff, but you already have like junk removal, dumpsters. It's hard to just have the job and all that other stuff going on and then try to trickle in a few customers at a time.
yeah,
Because with residential, to make a living at it, even a one man show, you got to have 300, 400 accounts, if that's all you're doing. So, but to do that, you got to have time to do that. So you're
Yeah,
going to take away from what else you're doing. So I think that was a smart move on your part. And my business model is very hybrid. I tell everybody that, like, it fell into place as it needed to. Like, I don't think if I would have done it in reverse, it would be where it is. I think I had to get the residential trash sustainable, where it was a cash flowing business that I could hire someone to do, then grow the other two things that are higher ticket sales, but they're not so recurring, if that makes sense. So I totally understand why you did that. And I think I probably would have been in the same boat, especially the fact that you're doing all this and still working a job. That's crazy to me. That's a lot of hustle, man. That's good. And yeah, it took me 18 months for sure. And I don't advise anybody, you know how expensive this equipment is, unless you got some serious backing or some serious pockets. To jump into this stuff cold turkey, man, is very risky.
Yeah, and
Very risky.
just to even add to that, something to throw in there as well. When I sat out and did my business plan for this business, in my business plan was to get a part-time job. So, I was doing part-time security, and I was making about it was weekly pay, so I was making about $400 a week from this job, doing part-time security. And that was back in my business. That's how I was able to really grow so fast. I was able to continuously put money into the business and grow the business. That's how, those residential cans cost me like $8,000, just for 100 of them.
It's
So,
crazy. It's
yeah.
crazy. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's no problem. But yeah, I
Yeah,
definitely.
I'm on my I didn't even think to do this on my didn't even think to do this on my desktop. I've got you on the new MacBook. I'm trying to learn how to use it, but this thing's so high tech that the text messages go to it and I don't even understand. But sorry, I don't even know. I'm not a tech guy, as you guys can tell. Normally Nick's doing the videos, but he's like, yo, I'll just give you your laptop back and you could just sit at your house and do this one. I don't need to sit there. I said, whatever. So I'm over here like, oh, real life. That's real. We're not even editing that part out. But yeah, I know you got to get to work, man. This has been a lot of fun. I mean, is there any closing? What I'd like you to do, if you could give the guys and girls that are watching this, like, your biggest piece of advice as you've grown and gone through a real life story of this business, what is some words of advice you can leave them with?
I would say believe in yourself. There's a point where you're able to really buckle down and really say, "Hey, I can do this," but at the same time, be smart about it. So it's kind of like two things, but yeah, YouTube University has everything you need. But at the same time, it's up to you to really put everything together and bring it into motion to truly be successful, because everyone's not going to be successful in this business. As you know yourself, you probably see so many people buy equipment, they're selling the equipment in 6 months. Obviously, thankfully, I didn't fall into that realm, but at the same time, I think that this industry definitely is sustainable. We've already seen that through the recession, or not really recession, but the whole quarantine and things of that nature. But you have to have the drive. So it's pretty much it.
I want to ask one last question to you, because I don't think I've ever asked this to anyone before, but I think it's worth asking, especially bringing up the state of the economy right now. In your opinion, do you think, how can I word this properly? I feel like a lot of people get into this business because, yeah, they watch a YouTube video, they see a guy driving by with a nice truck, and they think, oh, wow, that seems like easy money. And they think that by marketing aggressively, cheaply, they are going to be able to sustain, when realistically, your model of, I'm going to take the money, I'm not going to live off the money. I'm not going to make $300, $400, $500 a rental and then keep some for my personal life until X period in the business. Do you think that that is crucial, to almost put a part-time job in your business plan, know and be okay with the fact that you are most likely not going to take money for 6, 12, 18 months? But if you can get to that point where you're not doing it for just the get rich quick thing, it is sustainable, because there will always be junk. There will always be trash. There will always be construction debris that needs to be hauled. But I feel like a lot of guys or girls see what we're doing, get in quick. And the reason you're seeing this stuff come up for sale so fast is they're jumping out of the day job too quick. They don't have the cash flow to either pay the debt payments or pay their mortgage. I mean, we all got bills, right? Do you think it's more crucial to have a long-term view for this specific business, trash and landscape? I'm not talking about a business in general. I'm just saying this specific business, for how cash intensive it is. Do you think having a part-time income and not relying on this income for, let's say, a year is more crucial than, because everyone asks me, how do you market? How do you market? Dude, I don't market much different than anybody else. I've just been doing it for 4 years now. So my name's getting out there.
Yeah.
So speak to that real quick, if you could.
Yeah, I definitely feel that because, like I said again, I went into this with a part-time job, and that part-time job was for my business. I don't have not touched to this day. I've been in business probably like 19 months. I have not, well, a little over 19 months. I have not touched one penny for my full-time job with my business. They never interloop. My wife would never let that happen, but at the same time, I went into this business knowing, hey, this business has to sustain itself. One way or another. If that requires me doing some other stuff on the side, to make sure that there's cash flow, like you said, coming into this business, play dump fees, tires, anything of that nature, I did it. And then really me leaving my part-time job was the simple fact that I was getting burnt out. But at the same time, I was like, I'm hindering myself because I'm making good money on the weekends and I'm not taking that time to really put it towards the business. So, just like how you said, you took 18 months to leave your full-time job and went into the business. It took me about, I would say, about a year of doing my part-time job to really be like, I'm going to really put my focus on the business. I can leave this part-time job because the business is making more money now. Definitely. You got to be smart about it because this isn't, this isn't all fun and games and YouTube videos. This is real life. You can lose it all if you don't plan right. And I definitely think so. But just to add on to that, I know a way to, with me moving from residential trash and, not doing certain things, it's really expanding on the business and trying to be creative. Something that a lot of people I'm starting to see now is they're saying, hey, I do light demolition. So I've always done light demolition, deck removals, interior stuff like that. But it's just the point of now I'm trying to get into, more heavier stuff. I just put a bid in on demolishing a home, things of that nature. I just got my contractor's license and, I'm trying to start and going in that route because I see the business at the end of the day being more of, heavier roll-offs, maybe getting a big CDL roll-off and, a couple big pieces of equipment and doing that side. It's just different ways you can go. You can find your niche in this business, but like we both said, it's cash intensive. You have to have the drive for it. And not everyone can be a business owner. At the end of the day, some people are meant to be employees, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's not for everyone.
That's a great way to leave it, and that's a great way to wrap this one up. Is just because you start something doesn't mean that's going to be what you do forever, and being okay with that inside is. I'd rather go be an employee than risk my family's whole life because I don't have I can't swallow my pride and shut it down, for example.
Exactly.
So, well, dude, I appreciate it, Roberto. I really do, man. If you guys are in Northern Virginia, you need a dumpster rental and you watch these videos, hit him up. We're going to have his phone number and we're also going to have a link to his website in the description of this video. And I mean, I really appreciate you coming on, man, and look forward to talking to you again. And
same here.
Yeah. I mean, that's it for this one, guys. As always, thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe to the content if you find value in it. We are going to really be trying to make these trash talk videos the focus of the channel. As I talked to Roberto before, I can't beat a dead horse anymore on how to get into the business. If I haven't given you enough free information on how to get into the business by now, then don't get into it. Just don't. I'd rather tell these stories. This is a lot more fun to me. So that's my selfishness coming out. But yeah, I really appreciate all you guys and stay safe, Roberto, and best of luck in your future endeavors, man.
Thanks. Same to you. Talk to you later.
Later.
Bye.